trading activities, but rather made this castle to be their sub-administrative center. And this is where the British started to colonize Ghana. In 1948, same British used this castle to be their police training school during the Second World War. Then they brought English-speaking West African countrymen to this place to train them for the war during the Second World War, so that they can fight in Burma and India for the English. Okay, the British spent 85 years in this castle. 6th of March 1957 was when Ghana gained independence, and then Ghanaians took over this castle from the British. Ghana currently has spent 67 years in this castle. Now, when you add these numbers together, this castle is 543 years old. Today was the 68 years of Ghana. Okay, so that's why I said 543 years old. This castle is the biggest, largest, and the oldest castle in the whole tropical Africa. When slavery was going on, this castle took about 1,000 enslaved Africans at a time, 600 men for 100 women. And also, when the Portuguese were here, they used the down floors in this castle as their storerooms when they were doing the normal trade. But when they started the slavery, they then converted those storerooms to be dungeons. That's why we have slave dungeons in this castle. And so this is the brief history of this castle. Now we are starting the real talk. Like I said earlier, it's 45 minutes talk. So it's a leg process. Our legs are going to do most of the work. So please, let's start with the favorite dungeon. Please come with me. Where we standing was the female courtyard, or let me say the African women's courtyard. Okay, and these were that 400 of African women were shared among these dungeons. Please come. Let's all come in. Let's all. Okay. Hello. 150 of African women. When we get to the room of no return, I'll explain the new word for all of us to understand. Now, when those African women were kept here, they gave them 2 containers placed at both ends of this dungeon for them to eat themselves, urinate, and do other things in it. But during the 2nd month, some of the African women became so weak to the extent that they couldn't get to the containers, and so did everything on the floor. That included their menstrual period. And this same floor was where they were eating, and this same floor was where they were sleeping. They had 2 sources of ventilation. This side and the other side was their 2 sources of ventilation. Where we came from was an enclosed area. There was a metal door, very big one, closed. Now please you could use the magazine. The magazine was a place where the European soldiers kept out that they were using. So when there's any leakage, that toxic smell comes down here and causes air pollution. So already the floor was contaminated and the air was polluted. And so most of the African women lost their lives when they were kept here. And the floor we are looking at, the floor is 543 years old. They used these sedimentary rocks to build out this castle. It was added to build out this castle. Okay, please let's talk about.
California for no.
You can never do anything. Okay, good. Because of the Japan action. Okay, in the coastal line of West Africa, it was termed as the white man's grave. The reason being that those European men that day were dying of malaria and yellow fever. And because of that, European men never came with their wives. It's only the local men that came here. Men can't live without having an affair with women.
They be
And
crying.
so they use the African women kept in the dungeons to satisfy their sexual pleasures. And when I talk about they, I mean the governor, the deputy, the merchants, and the soldiers. They're all inclusive. Because the governor had a higher position in this castle, he stood at the top of his balcony. Others, the soldiers, to open the dungeons. When the dungeons are open, the African women came out of this place, the dungeons, and then stood here in this courtyard. Then the governor selected whoever he wanted. After that selection, they used this. This is a water reservoir built by the Portuguese when they came. It can hold about 20,000 gallons of water, and it was used for their domestic purposes. It's directly from the rain. So when it rains, the water passes through these pipes and just to this. Okay, this same water was used to wash down the dead on the African women before taking them to the governor's bedroom. Let me remind you, when those African women were kept in the dungeons, they never took their bath. Their last bath was taken in a 4-month. When they came here for that 3 to 4 month period, they never had water on their body. So those who were fortunate to have water on their body were those who were selected by the governor to be raped. Okay, so this was our okay, are we good? All right. Please come with me. All right. Please come. Grace is coming from the Dutch. Wherever you see red grace is coming from the Portuguese. Okay. You could see these old clothes down here. These are never the original clothes used by the African women. No. In 2016, children from to the African women. And so they slept in here using this cloth to cover themselves for 12 hours. The next day when the workers came, the workers saw that this place was really smelly, meaning those students urinated here. And due to that, some of them got sick of malaria and yellow fever. Now, those students did that to dramatize upon what really happened to the African women. To tell a story that indeed what you'll be hearing about the Africans being enslaved was really true. Okay, please, in this room, it has some originalities. Please, the wood, our wood. Yes, that wood is 543 years old. The rest was checked in 2005. And so now, nothing has been changed again. And also, the metal vase you see here is 543 years old. It was brought by the Portuguese. Initially, we were placed in the host of this place. But seawater and metals are never good friends. And so, it started rusting. So there was a need to be replaced with a wooden one. So these are woods. Please test the part. There were steps down here that they climbed down to get to the room of no return. But those steps became so weak. So when the British bought this castle in 1872, they destroyed the steps and made a drainage out of it. So when it rains, the water passes through this drainage and gets to the sea. So apparently we can't use this place to get to the room of no return. It's a different route to go there. Please follow me. So where we were was the female courtyard, or the African women's courtyard. And where we are now is the African men's courtyard. And where we are standing is the transit dungeon for the African men. Now, in the down floors here were dungeons for the African men. 600 of African men were shared among those dungeons. They were kept there for 3 to 4 months for the ships to come and take them to the New World. When those African men were in the dungeons, some of them died, and those who survived were brought to this room or to this dungeon, but were first branded. Behind you was the branding room. There were European soldiers there holding the metals with the company's logo on it. They put that metal in a burnt fire, let the metal to burn very warm, and then use it to stamp the African men their chest and some their forehead, for them to be identified as their company A's enslaved Africans or company B's enslaved Africans. For them, such was never done to them. Theirs was a tag on their wrists and some on their necks. When those African men were here, they had two sources of ventilation. This side and the other side was their two sources of ventilation. Please let's look up. That was where the European soldiers throw food down here for African men to fight over and eat. So in this place was called the survival of the fittest. Those who were strong got something to eat, while the weak one had to die because of hunger. And not that they just brought them here and then straight forward to the room of no return. No, they kept them in here for a couple of days before transporting them to the room of no return, then to the ships. So that number of days, those who never got a chance to eat something have to lose their lives in this transit dungeon. So indeed, what the Europeans really did to Africans was never good. Please come in. Come so that they can get a space to stand, please. Watch your head, watch your head. As you're coming in, please watch your head. Was the intersection room. The African women came from this side, while the African men came from where we came from. They all met here, but the saddest thing in here was they never spoke to themselves. They never said a word to themselves. The reason being that not only Ghanaians were captured as enslaved Africans, no. Other West African countries, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, and others were all captured. And so, language was a problem in this place. So you could see your fellow African, but I can't say word to the person because of language. And also those times, there was nothing like English language. So it was all local dialects. So the Nigerian speaks Igbo or Yoruba. The Ghanaian speaks Twi or Ewe or Northern, language. So language was a problem in this place. So they just saw themselves as fellow Africans, but never said a word. You have to bend very well. Take 5 steps and come. Bend down. You're going in. Okay.
Bend down boutique.